to those that live in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
you're well aware of the goings on in the last week or so, couple weeks now. Senior pastor of Second Baptist Church here in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Ed Young.
Homer Edwin
Young.
Yeah.
He showed he was more Homer than he was Ed a few weeks ago, and so started a series of messages concerning this woke culture. And in his first installment of that series, he began to cite some numbers concerning crime, and by his numbers, he said that Houston was the
most dangerous
city in America. And so, of course, and he went on to subscribe that some politicians that hold positions in the city were bums, which I felt was reaching when he said it. But anyway, and so they were bums, and he went on to run them down and that kind of deal, whatever. Of which the mayor of Houston responded, "I'm not a bum."
Mm-hmm.
Clarified the numbers or the percentages and stuff that he gave out was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He doubled down on it Sunday. I don't know if you heard that part.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, he doubled down.
Yeah, he doubled down on his position that Houston's the most the one dangerous city in America.
Now he did offer some corrections, but he still doubled down on his position.
Right.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, yeah, maybe my facts were wrong, but my
feelings still the same.
My feelings, regardless of the facts, my feelings are the same.
And then he cited some crime, some murder rate where Houston precedes Chicago. But I think what Houston does to make it not seem to be so is they look at our numbers per capita.
Well, and that's what he's not doing, is that he's not looking at what everybody else looks at to make things even.
Right.
Is you have to look at it on a per capita basis.
Right.
Because just taking every major city is always going to be super high if you don't adjust.
Because it's a major city.
For a per capita basis. Right. So I think that was really disingenuous.
Yeah.
On the part of Ed Young, as far as how he's trying to manipulate the facts. I mean, if you just couldn't find a good opening illustration for your sermon, just say that.
You're right. Or find one.
Just say it.
Right.
Just find.
I mean, because nobody's looking at Ed Young for preaching anyway. So
I mean, I'm just saying, there's plenty of 101 sermon illustration books available.
Right. Yeah, right.
If you're having trouble.
By Tony Evans.
Yeah, Tony Evans, Jeffrey Johnson.
Yeah.
Great.
Naming black preachers. He's not going to do that.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
So he's not going to do that. But see, here's another thing that he did in the opening installment of his series that I did not like.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the pulpit and you're making the pulpit fight politics or politicians.
Correct.
Then you say that Jesus was the greatest politician the world had ever seen.
Yeah, I'm still looking for that.
And
one.
I'm hard pressed.
Where is that in the text? You making statements like that without book, chapter, and verse.
It's not good.
Come on, man. You're a whole pastor. You should know better.
So here's what I think, and I could be wrong. Please share your commentary. Here's what I think. Now, I believe that Ed Young does have some, I'm not going to say he's racist, but he has some.
He lives next door?
He has some racism in it. I couldn't say racism-ishness. But
racist like.
Yeah.
Racist-esque.
I believe he has some in it. And on top of that, he's old.
Hey, that's ageist.
That's right. He's old. And so there's this push of this. We saw it a couple weeks ago where I equated Bishop Wooden, like he just said what he said because when you get to a certain thing, you want to see the world the way you saw it.
Well, yeah, and it's not that it's that he's trying to hold on to, and this is where the aroma of racism gets thick, is that you have some people in this country that wish for a time gone by. They wish for an era that to them was golden. But to the melanated members of the community was rusted out.
Right.
And so there are some people that just want to go back to post-World War II era, 1950s, American boom time in the economy. But that time was also water hoses, redlining, all these things, lynchings, all these different types of things. But to them, you see what I'm saying? To them, it was the golden age. It was the golden era.
He said some things that even this week that just made me think, right? And again, I'm trying my best because I'm saying I like him. He's God's preacher. Obviously, he's done some good things in the city, and so I'm trying to cut him some slack. And I would equate most of it to him being old instead of him being racist, right? Because
I would equate it to him being a hyper partisan. He's a staunch Republican, which is his that's his political preference. That's your preference, no problem.
Fine.
But let's just say it so it doesn't so we don't have to go any further. God is not a Republican.
No. And you can't
neither is God a Democrat.
He's not, but you can't do a series.
God is sovereign. You see, God is sovereign. God does not fit into a democratic, process or policy. Doesn't fit into the idea of a republic because God is sovereign. So stop trying to put God into your political box.
Yeah. No,
it's not about red elephants and it's not about blue donkeys. So if you're gonna call it out, then call out a specific person, place, or thing.
Right.
And you see what I'm saying? And let that be it. But what you want to do, you want to call out a party.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You want to call out a party, then you want to throw a stone and hide your hand like,
Right.
Step up and say, if you say it with your chest, if you really feel that way, call the person out by their government name and say, I have a problem with this person for these reasons.
Right.
Does that make sense? Right. But you don't want to do that. You just want to say, throw the bums out. Does that make sense? Because you don't want to be on record that you said this, that, or the third.
He started talking about, and again, all of it makes no sense to me. It's just him trying to connect dots, and that's why I equated to him being old. He started talking about cases, court cases, and people being released and committing other crimes, and then pointing at the mayor like, okay, the mayor's a bum. When
right,
does a mayor control what happens in a courtroom?
That's a non sequitur. I'm wondering whose name was on the check that he cashed. I want to know. Because to go all of a sudden, you just, boom, turn this corner. There was no, major incident that happened where this would be a natural follow-up. Does that make sense? Right. You're not following up anything. You just decided one day to wake up and start reading off crime statistics that weren't even valid or good or accurate. And then you cut across the field to talk about these bums that are in office in terms of, things that they don't have direct control over.
Right.
And it's like, how did we get there, Brother Ed?
And we saw in Houston, we saw the spike in crime after it became legal. I believe after it became legal for everyone to have a gun.
Oh, well, we don't want to talk about that because then that would call out the Republican governor.
And that's what I'm saying.
Like, and here's the deal. And you know,
fair.
Yeah, and you know where I'm at. I'm equal opportunity. Right, so I'll dish it out, to both sides. It doesn't matter. You know, and so, and that's how I think it should be. You should call it out based on right being right and wrong being wrong, not, well, it wasn't the right thing to do, but since they wear a red T-shirt, I'm not going to say anything. But hey, I take exception because that other team, they wear blue T-shirts, and I'm going to find anything and everything wrong just because they wear blue T-shirts.
I would have more respect for him if he would have said that, but he just went straight
he lost all credibility to speak about anything political because you're not addressing the problem. You're addressing people that you have a problem with.
Right.
If your concern really was what's going on in terms of crime, where are your initiatives in order to reduce those things? What are you doing?
Right. Since you passed the half the city. Right.
You see what I'm saying? But the problem is that he forgot the first priority while he's standing in second.
Right.
Keep the main thing the main thing. Right. And don't try to connect Jesus to your political affiliation, your political preference.
Right.
And especially when you don't have any book, chapter, or verse, because there's nothing in there where you have somebody that is going to be able to connect Jesus to a specific political party or persuasion. It's not there.
He did it. He did it.
He attempted.
Okay, so here's something that he said.
He attempted
that I said was just because he's old, because old people do this, and I'm not picking on those who are getting old but are open minded.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's the worldview. It's because there are people that you don't have to, regardless of your age or stage, you can still view things objectively.
Right. But I'm talking about those that are stuck in whatever area.
Right.
Sister Jones is one. Me and Sister Jones talk all the time. Sister Jones 97, but she is just as
sharp.
Hey, she's trying to, and she's pushing on. So one of the things that he said that I just equate to him being old, this past Sunday, he equated a cell phone. Did you hear that?
Yes, in the second message.
Heroin.
In the second message, yeah.
To heroin. He said a 13-year-old was given a cell phone by his parents. Parent came later to ask him, like, why you didn't tell me that giving him a cell phone would be like giving him his first dose of heroin? I said, what?
Well, first of all, he's also leaning on Ben Carson, which, not saying that he wasn't a good doctor, but the thing is that he also has some weird views as well.
Right.
But bottom line is this: a cell phone is amoral. It's not moral. It's not immoral. Amoral mean it doesn't have a morality.
Right.
It's a tool. That's like saying a 2x4 is immoral.
Right.
Or a 2x4 is moral. This is God's 2x4.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? The cell phone is merely a tool to access whatever it is that the user wants with the proper connection to the internet. Does that make sense? It's only a tool.
And that's it. And so here's my issue. And I listened to his whole message, and I actually took a lot of stuff he said as just frustrating to hear coming from him. But again, a cell phone is a tool. Now, I came up in a generation prior to cell phone. We still did the same stuff that he's now trying to equate solely on a cell phone.
Right.
So, like, there was a buddy would have a Playboy or something, pass around from brother to brother, from house to house, whatever. Like, we didn't have
not brother to brother.
Yeah, like, my next door neighbor got it from his big brother. His brother gave it to him. He brought it out to the street. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah.
Even without a cell phone, there will be thoughts that capture every human mind.
Right.
That if you want to, think these things out, you can do it no matter what tool you use.
This reminds me of the movie Waterboy, where Adam Sandler plays the title character and he's got his mom, right? And his mama, everything is the devil. I don't know why you playing that foosball. Foosball is the devil. You see what I'm saying? So it's like he just, to a hammer, everything, looks like a nail. And so when you're looking for that, but my deal is like, I'm like, again, I agree with you. I've listened to The Winning Walk. I think that Dr. Eddie Young has, put out, good, solid, sound doctrine preaching and teaching in many instances.
Sometimes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But man, this just seems like somebody that is complaining and just whining that they're not in power or that they're losing. And I'm like, hey man, if we're going to start talking about, getting on the case of politicians, buddy, sweep around your own front porch.
Yep. That's
you're the figurehead. I say figurehead now because he's no longer in power.
Right.
But the figurehead of your team is hiding out in Florida with all kinds of secret documents that who knows what he did, what he's got copied of, what he lost, what got faxed over to Saudi Arabia or Russia.
Right.
We don't know. And he's trying to play legal games to buy himself more and more time. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because he hears the footsteps.
Right.
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 They're closing in. But let's not talk about that.
Right.
The governor of the state of Texas said, hey, anybody can go ahead and carry a handgun openly. No problem. No license. I'm offended because I'm a licensed to carry.
Right.
Where I want my money back.
Right.
Somebody tell Kelvin Cato. You see what I'm saying? And so I want my money back. Why did I have to go through licensure, pay the fees, this, that, and third, blah, blah, blah. As soon as they passed that, you should have sent out refund checks to anybody in the last 5 to 10 years that paid these fees.
Gets it back. And that's what I keep saying. Like you could tell that it's his drive. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you what I think it is, and I'll say it. I know emails are coming. Okay, we can talk.
Be honest.
I think his cheese is sliding off of his cracker. He's losing it. He's cracking up. He said in his introduction Sunday that when he was a boy, he was a young man. He used to wear dresses and wigs and makeup all the time. What are you admitting to?
Well, no. I actually see where he was going with that.
I see where he was trying to go. But how many times you wore a dress?
0.
We don't do, no one does that.
0 times.
No one does that.
Let me go on the record. 0.
Man, look. 0.
These days. 0.
But no one, but that's him trying to say, I did it, and my parents would let me keep doing it, but look at how I turned out.
Right.
So shame on you parents that'll let your kids do it, whatever. And again, that's that fight at the general. And I get where he was trying to go. One, you made yourself look weird, because now in my head, you a drag queen whether you want to be or not. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I I'll push back on that a little bit, because I do feel like what he was trying to set up was a construct that, hey, because he also used his wife in illustration. His wife was kind of like a tomboy, and she
got a football uniform with shoulder pads and helmet one year.
Hey, you seen Little Giants? Icebox. So, so that's the thing. So he's trying to set up that, hey, in the course of childhood and growing up and make believe and playing games and whatever, blah, 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 that there may be some experimentation with what is traditionally considered the place or the role or the appearance of the opposite sex. Right. But hey, it happens to a lot of young kids. And they grow out of it because they see the example of their fathers, and they know that they're a boy to become a man. And the daughters see the example of their mother, and they know that they're a girl to become a woman. And they don't get double mastectomies and all this different stuff, hysterectomies, and start slicing and dicing, body parts off and mutilating themselves.
Then I would have been okay.
But that's basically where he was going.
That's where he was trying to go. But the man said he wore dresses and put on makeup. And his wife was in a football uniform with a helmet and shoulder pads. That's not normal.
Yeah, it's not normal. It's not normal. But I can at least appreciate, regardless of speed and direction, velocity, that I see his aim. You see what I'm saying? Regardless of how he was going to get there or how fast it happened, I at least see the target of where he was trying to go. Does that make sense? I didn't say it was well executed. I just said that I see where he was trying to go.
I mean, I saw where he was trying to go, but then toward the end of the message, now you're running down the same thing you used to do.
I mean, he definitely took the scenic route, and then he had like some animated cartoon deal in the middle, and I'm like,
crazy.
And I'm like, and it's good for what it's good for. I'm not saying that little animated part wasn't good, but it's like, man, we're really going over the bridge and through the woods to get to this point. And it's like, how about we do something that's radical? How about we open up the Bible, say what it says, say what it meant to the original audience, say what it means for us now, and how shall we then live? I know it's a crazy idea, but can we get there?
That's called preaching.
Oh, that's what we do.
He does it. No, okay. So I expect when he turned on the cartoon, I'm like, this cartoon's going to say something. What is this?
Come on, man.
Heavy.
I thought so too. I was like, wow, they have commissioned the artist.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's on now. It said nothing.
Well, what it was is that was an apologetics cartoon that's designed to help someone understand worldview.
But
you know,
and he could have said that though,
right?
Because he was like, well,
right.
How you view this is how you view the world. How do you view God is how you view it.
Right. Maybe he had to use the bathroom. That's what, I mean, it's like, hey, cue that up. I'll be right back.
Which proves he just.
I don't know. I don't know.
So here's my thing. I believe
it's kind of like maybe your God has gone aside. Maybe he's on a journey.
So here's my frustration. I believe sometimes you get too stuck in your way.
Yeah.
To do what like now he did whatever he did in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't even know how long, but he did whatever he did, and he was probably good for that era. But for this generation, if someone at second, now, if they'll sit Chandler down for a DM that's not sexual or romantic, he has got to sit down somewhere. Because that church is going to start feeling it if they don't sit him down and tape his mouth shut.
But here's the thing, though, is that the people that are there, they're loving this, buddy. They're eating it up with a spoon. Because here's the one thing I will say. He knows his constituency. You want to talk about politics? He's a politician. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe he's setting this up to back somebody that's affiliated with him or that he knows or whatever, and he's trying to be John the Baptist and pave the way, make the path straight for his candidate that he's going to back because it's election season coming around the corner.
It is. So we saw his direct audience. And they were yay and, whatever.
Right.
Second,
the wider
is a machine.
Yeah.
It's a machine.
Yeah.
And the majority of second is us.
Really?
Yes. So, don't just think about...
Sure wouldn't know it, buddy.
Don't just think about the second that he was at.
No, you got Woodway.
You got
Kingwood.
Woodway is what he... So
Woodway was where, yeah.
You're talking about Kingwood, Pearland, Katy. Second is us. So just because you're appeasing these 150, 200, 300, 400 people that are in this room right now, doesn't mean, look, there's a lot of people that not only work for the mayor's office that go to second. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You called the mayor of your city a bum.
A bum.
Based on what happens in the courtroom and what DAs choose to pursue and not pursue and the time of DA. What does Sylvester Turner have to do with a courtroom? Right. It shows
out of touch.
He's mad about a lot. Yeah. And I get it. He's mad about a lot.
And the word applies, you mad.
Yeah.
You big man.
He mad, and it's starting to spill out in ways that's going to be negatively detrimental to that church. So somebody, church leadership needs to, hey, look, Pastor, we believe you getting senile, if not senile, at least cantankerous, and it might be best for you to just preach to yourself in this house, and we'll have somebody else preach and pulpit on the stage. And he went as far as to saying Sunday that we are, he is what do you call the dogs that run with the shepherd? And he just barking. That's what the man said. He was a dog and he was barking.
Now, see, I told you that before we started that I had 6 minutes and 15 seconds left.
I just ruined it for you.
I think
that was his clothes. He was a dog and he's barking.
He was a dog,
a sheep dog, and he barking. And again, I get it.
Yeah, well, I can see where that because the last thing I heard is he was talking about the fire in the crowded theater.
Right.
So I can see he was about to segue into because he was already setting that up. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, you didn't ruin it for me. Right? I mean, you saved me time. You saved me time.
And I get it.
Teach us to number our days.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the I get it.
I just saved 6 minutes.
He's an older man that sees a changing world, and he's mad
that he's being left behind.
He's mad, and it's just coming out in multiple.
But my deal is that you represent a better set of ideas.
Yeah, he should.
Why don't you just repeat what you represent? What you want to do is you want to say something based on your preferences and based on your feelings and try to tie it back to scripture to give it authority instead of authoritatively teaching and preaching from scripture and then going to a conclusion. You've jumped to the conclusion and now you're trying to find book, chapter, verse. How can I support what I want to say?
Right. And that's what it is. I can't wait till Sunday. I'm sitting,
because the next one.
I'm sitting on tiptoe anticipation like I'm a member.
Yeah. Critical race theory is the next.
Say, man, what is that man
on the menu
say about critical race theory?
I want to hear it.
This is here's my frustration, and here's why I keep saying somebody needs to.
I want to hear this.
For 40 years of pastoral leadership is going to be tarnished in the last few senile years of his life. Listen, nobody ever walked away from second going that, Ed Young is, pro multicultural, everybody knows who he is. You know what I'm saying? We're good, but the stuff he's doing now is what?
So here's an interesting little tidbit. All right, and I'm reading on the reporting from the Houston Chronicle. So it says here, Harris County Judge candidate Alexandra Del Moral Miller, who is running against incumbent Judge Lena Hidalgo, posting she believes the time for fence sitting is over. We all must stand up and take our county back.
Make America great again.
America first. You know who also used that tagline, America first?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you one guess.
Who?
What comes after J in the alphabet? And say it 3 times.
No, really?
Yes, sir, 100%.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll send you the pictures. Oh, yeah, they would walk down Main Street.
So
America first is a dog whistle.
Dog whistle.
Yes, sir, 100%. Sounds great. Sounds great.
Wow.
Sounds great, like Law and Order and Peaches and Cream and, all that stuff. But that was used
by the Klan.
Of the Ku Klux variety. Yes, sir.
Wow.
And so this is This is interesting.
Hey.
But I mean, to me, it's like, hey, look, now it all makes sense. Here you are, blowing your dog whistle, using your bully pulpit. And look at that. The Republican candidate just, oh, yeah. Great job, Ed. Wow. We love it. And here's the deal. You're going to align with who you're going to align with. I'm not saying that, hey, I'm not saying you can't be a Republican.
Right.
My deal is be equal opportunity.
Even if you're not equal opportunity, I don't want to hear your Republican Party on Sunday morning. Preach.
That's not
hush.
right, because that's not going to be that. Right. There's not going to be Democrat. There's not going to be a Democrat in charge or a Republican in charge in the millennial kingdom.
Right.
Jesus is going to be in charge.
Right.
In the eternal state, there's not going to be any voter registration.
Right.
Does that make sense? So why are we tied up so much in these things that are bound by time when on Sunday morning we're supposed to be worshiping God and talking about things that are eternal?
That's right.
And you're over here stooping to the level of these earthly affairs, and you're supposed to represent the King.
They won't even produce any numbers recent. Under Ed Young's leadership, the church has built 2 locations in Houston, established campuses in Pearland, Kingwood, Cypress, Fulshire. I forgot about Cypress. Fulshire, together boasting a congregation of 80,000 as of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
No new numbers have been released. So I'm sure if they release,
because that's the best you got. Absolutely, that's the best you got.
I'm sure.
And so.
Ed Young went on to state that the murder rate is higher in Houston right now than in Chicago or New York. He said, according to dialysis, or I guess it's supposed to be some data numbers, data analysis. Chicago has recorded 25 murders since the beginning of 2022. Philly has recorded 340 murders. New York has recorded 270 murders. And Houston is currently listed as 4th with 256 murders. So
here's the deal. I don't, the murder rate per capita, does Ed Young not aware that we have Google? I just did a quick Google. Number 1 murder rate per capita, St. Louis. Number 2, Baltimore. Number 3, Birmingham. Number 4, Detroit. 5, Dayton, Ohio. 6, Baton Rouge. 7, New Orleans. 8, Kansas City. 9, Memphis. 10, Cleveland. Houston's not even in the top 10. Well, let's keep going. Again, this is per capita, so it actually makes it an even playing field.
Right.
So we're not in the top 20.
We're not in the top 20. See,
compared us to Chicago. Chicago shows up at 28. We're not in the top 30.
You know what? I see now. I don't know how I missed this. This confirms. It's like, you get one of those forms and then, the stamp on it. To me, that stamp confirms what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the red stamp on this whole series that confirms it's silly.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz tweeted his approval of Ed Young's message Sunday, calling it
powerful.
Anything Ted Cruz agrees with is wrong. Period. By proxy, is wrong. If you walk outside and say, "Man, the sky's blue," and Ted Cruz say, "Yeah," you'd be like, "Oh, I gotta look again. What color is the sky really?
What color is it really?" Oh man. Wow. But yeah, I just went through this whole deal. It's not in the top 65.
So that's what. So how can you say a city is the most dangerous city in the world?
I'm trying to find it.
When you're not even in the top 65.
I'm trying to find it. And even Fox News is reporting the same. I just found the same article study quoted Fox News. Still not there. I don't get it. I don't get it. Now, what he may be looking at was that he's not looking at per capita basis, which is how that's the what adjusts for population size.
Right.
That's how you determine what's the most dangerous place. According to the statistics, per capita, St. Louis, Missouri
is number one.
That's
I can see it.
To get murdered.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. So
more people per thousand get murdered in St. Louis than anywhere else in the country.
So Houston wouldn't be as dangerous as St. Louis. So why? I mean, you're standing in the pulpit saying that. Here's what the Chronicle wrote. And again, this is crazy. But anyway, this is not Ed Young's first foray into political commentary in the pulpit. The pastor received backlash for his description of the political party in 2018 at a then Congressman John Couberson's election event. He says, this party is no longer a party, Young's commentary. It's some kind of religion that is basically godless. So anytime you call people godless, listen, I'm a Democrat, but I wouldn't call Republicans godless.
Yeah.
Young's comments Sunday led to a passionate response on Twitter. Those opposing to the pastor calling for the IRS to investigate the 501c3 tax status. According to the IRS, the tax exemption can be revoked if public statements of position, verbal or written, are made on behalf of an organization in favor or opposing any candidate for public office clearly violate the prohibition against this political campaign or activity. So now, again, if the church leadership doesn't do something to silence him, now people are asking for the IRS to look into the church to pull back its 501c3.
And this is not a good time to be messing with the IRS because they just got a lot more funding. And wouldn't they want to get a hold of you?
A 80,000 member church in Houston, can you imagine?
Oh my
what
goodness.
Their yearly budget and income is?
Pearls are clutched. I'm just telling you. Now here, I think I found what Ed Young was referring to, and this is, somebody get him a research assistant because this is probably what he's referring to. So there is a statistic that's out there amongst the top 4 cities in the country, which is New York, LA, Chicago, and Houston. Amongst those 4, we are number 2 in just the straight number of homicides. What we're first in, but only amongst the top 4 cities, not every city, but only amongst the top 4 cities, is that we are up 54% year over year.
Because that was just by straight numbers, says Chicago is 425, Philly is 340, New York is 270, and Houston is 256. Just like, but by number, we're the lowest, but I guess if we're up 50% from last year.
And this only took into account 30 days because it was 2022 crime stats that were reported through February 6th. So that means that you had at most 5 weeks worth of data, and you're looking at you're looking at January 2022 versus January 21. That's not a long enough timeline to make any type of conclusive information about the murder rate. You need to look at annual statistics. So disingenuous at best. He picked out certain statistics and said, oh, this supports my claim, instead of looking at the easily available information that says that Houston, Texas is not even in the top 65 as cities in terms of murder rate per capita.
So you got 64 more cities that are more dangerous, but in his
it could be more. They just stopped. The article just stopped at 65.
Like, that's enough.
That's just enough. When they ran out of ink, and they still haven't even gotten to write Houston's name on it.
Yeah.
So my deal is like, hey, I'm not saying we don't have problems, but if you have a problem with what's going on in the city, don't just tell me the problem. Tell me the solution. What are you gonna do about it? But all you did was complain about the problem without providing not one solution.
And then now here goes the choir. Dr. Ed Young is correct regarding regarding rising crime in Harris County. Criminals have bond reduced and then go out to commit other violent crimes again. Then they said KHOU, which is a local TV station.
Yep.
Shame on you for not supporting Dr. Ed Young for his ratings. Why don't you allow other networks to carry the winning walk? If it's a winning walk, there's some missteps.
Yeah, a misstep on the winning walk.
Yeah, this is sad, but we'll stay tuned and locked in. Matter of fact, I can't wait till next week. He's going to give his assessment of the of critical race theory. So I'm all ears for it. I really want to hear Ed Young talk about CRT.
Yeah,
this is gonna make life for me.
You got the popcorn ready,
man. I might do. So, man,
watch party,
nachos and hot wings at my house. Ed Young is talking about critical race theory. I done seen it all now.
Oh man, that's funny.
I didn't see. Oh man, I can't wait.
Oh man,
I gotta hear it. This is going to expose.
Oh man.
His mindset about a lot. They need to shut this down. Somebody at Second needs to shut this down.
Well, wait till next. I want to hear next week.
Let him get through Sunday.
Then shut it down.
Then y'all have a meeting Monday morning.
But no, I mean, I feel like he is really feeling like he's playing to the base, and it appears that he's trying to set up Republican candidates and give them a tailwind, as they're going in. But my deal is like, after you do all these things in terms of you want to make political war, at the end of all these talks and the complaining and the going back and forth, when you're done with the politicians, what say ye about the Prince of Peace?
As a church, what are we standing for? So yeah, it's almost like, and again, this generation is hard to win. Okay, Reverend, you tell us what we hate.
Right.
What do we love?
Right.
I don't see how this benefits Second or its parishioners.
I mean, why? What's wrong with do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God? What's wrong with that, Brother Ed? I just don't understand. You don't have it. You got blue magic. Why are you messing with the recipe? You know what I'm saying? You're messing. You got the best product, the best message, the best idea on the planet ever to be conceived and held by human consciousness. But you stoop down to this.
When he said that Jesus was the greatest politician, I was done. Because the Son of God is the greatest preacher we've ever known. Mm-hmm. And if God called you to be a preacher, don't stoop to be a politician. That's it. How can you equate the two? I don't even,
There was a preacher that did a message, and it was off the wall. It was not my cup of tea, but he did have an interesting title. I'll give him that. He had an interesting title. This is back when the church's chicken sandwich had first came out.
Okay.
And everybody was going over it. Dude made flyers, all this different stuff. And he put out a message called "A Good Product with Bad Marketing."
Wow.
That's what's happening right here. You got a good product. Bad marketing.
I don't get it. I don't get it. But again, it's almost like watching a train wreck. It ain't good, but I'm gonna keep watching.
Right. It's like just, yeah. I mean, it's a sign of the times, and even on a wider scale, it's difficult to. I can imagine that it's got to be difficult. being in the majority and watching it slip away.
Right. And I think that's a part of it too.
You see what I'm saying? That is definitely a part of it. And I mean, you're trying to stop a moving train. And, it's like, look, buddy, I mean, if you have a problem with certain things, that's fine. Call out the problem, propose a solution, and take action. But you're just calling out the problem and calling out the problem and calling out the problem. That's not prophetic.
Right. You're a news reporter.
Right. The prophets gave direction as to how shall we then live. You just want to complain about it.
Right.
So if you're going to be in that vein, I applaud you. Hey, you see corruption, call it out. But call it out regardless of what team they're on.
Right.
Because you don't represent your first loyalty.
Right.
Is to the kingdom.
Absolutely. Should be.
That's your first loyalty.
Should be.
Now, if this other organization or entity aligns with that, then great.
Right.
But you're more concerned with your political party and them being in power than promoting the kingdom agenda.
And that's what this is all about. This is all about, and again, he's coining that, that's woke culture, and woke only means to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
And you should want everybody aware.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And I get it. Life doesn't look like it did for you when you were 30.
Right.
The church doesn't look like it did for you when you were 30.
Right.
But instead of looking back to the heyday, why not look forward and try to recreate that the essence,
right?
Of
and
what
even
it was.
and even better, it should be better because now we have more, equity amongst all the different citizens in the community.
That's what he doesn't like.
Exactly, and that's the thing is that no, we can't have equity and equality. I want it to be the way that it was. But here's the problem. We shouldn't want it to be the way that it was. And it's just like the song Get Back to Eden. That song irritates me because it's biblically and theologically inaccurate. If you were to try to get back to Eden, you'd be going to your certain death.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's the problem. They want to get back to their Edenic environment. But it's like, hey, why are you trying to get back to something that's not as good as where we're going? We're on a journey from a garden to a city with a cross in between. And all you want to do is complain, man, I wish we were back in the garden.
In the garden.
I'm done. And I'm through.
I don't get it. And to those of you that are listening and watching and you're in the Houston area, please keep your ears pierced because I believe anytime the city begins to respond to what happens or what's said in pulpits, then this only further exposes.
But here's the thing. There is a silver lining.
What is the silver lining?
There's a silver lining. So, I remember when I was growing up, the washing machine that was in the garage, my parents' house, was top load, and there was a spindle in the middle, and it's called an agitator.
Right.
And you put the clothes in. Let the water fill up and you put in the detergent, so on and so forth. And it's that agitation that actually got the clothes clean with the aid of the detergent.
Right.
So Ed Young, he may be the agitator that gets things moving around. And then maybe people will get into a situation that since they're agitated, that detergent can take effect.
Right.
And they'll find themselves in a different place, but because it's been brought to their mind because of the agitation.
Right. Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So it may end up being that even though we don't like what he's saying and how he's saying it, that may be the impetus for some people to get agitated enough that, hey, I don't agree with what he's saying. Let me find out what the real deal is.
Right.
Let me find out, and let me find a place that's gonna give me the truth.
Course of action.
Right. But now you're agitated. Right. You're put into action. You're moved to move.
Right.
So there may be a silver lining because
if that's the case, I can't wait till Sunday.
Oh yeah, because that's gonna be some agitation.
Yeah, that's gonna be some agitation.
That's gonna be some agitation.
That'll put us in place.
Yeah, there'll be some agitation. In the situation.
Right. Absolutely. So, well, listen, thank you for joining us on another episode of the TBT Show. Is there anything going on special this week?
This will be past air, but again, we do have the National Baptist Convention in town. Guests in the city. So again, we pray that people will be good, godly, generous hosts to the guests that we have in our city in this time period. And pray for their traveling grace and their arriving mercy back to their home cities and hometowns.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, I'm not aware.
Again, keep each other lifted in prayer. Our kids are starting to move around a little bit. I know high school football is starting to start, college football, that kind of deal. The city's starting to open a little bit as far as moving around, whatever. Let's watch out for each other, keep each other lifted in prayer as kids get into, not just football, but all high school athletics, UIL competition athletics, and, cheerleading and the whole nine, that God keeps our children safe and secure. And if there's nothing else, remember, God is looking over us all. Look out for each other. And until we see you guys next week, grace and peace.